Welcome to Inside Tax Policy. I'm Cindy Bloom, as you can see, in Southern California. I'm so pleased to be joined today by Suchi Lee and Doug McHoney. Gentlemen, thank you for joining me.
Thanks for having us.
So you both have extensive global experience. You travel a lot. You're seeing what's happening firsthand around the world. I want to start with, where are some hot spots around the world? What activity are you seeing? We've done this major tax reform overhaul. What else do you see happening that companies really need to be aware of?
I mean, I do think there's a global trend of tax rates coming down and the base broadening. So, you know, the Netherlands, Belgium said they're not going to drop their rates. Well, they're now dropping their rates. You know, the UK's maybe started. You know, their rate's going to go to 17. They're currently at 19. I mean, even Argentina is at 35, going to 30, going to 25. There are a few places that still have fairly high tax rates. Australia is at 30. Brazil's at 34, India's in the high 30s, you know, low 40s, and I think changes or reactions probably will be coming. They're studying it and thinking about it, and that will be something to watch.
Yeah, what I'm really focused on, Sindhu, is the Anti-Tax Avoidance Directive in the European Union. Effective January 1st, 2019, all of the member states are going to be required to have certain new rules, including interest limitation and controlled foreign corporation rules, which could have a huge impact both on U.S. multinationals and foreign multinationals. And it's been a little surprising to me that foreign jurisdictions haven't actually tipped their hands yet to show us what those rules might be. And I have a feeling this year is going to be a scurry once we actually see what those rules are. To try to adjust to those along with U.S. tax reform is going to be a big lift for a lot of companies.
And it's all in an effort to stay competitive. I mean, if we're going to lower our rates so significantly, other countries have got to react, otherwise they're going to lose out. So you, and both of you have been through a number of major tax events, I'm going to call them, throughout your professional careers. Check the box, BEPS. What is happening right now that is shifting business?
Well, I think one of the big changes that we're seeing with a lot of companies is the ability to be able to get data throughout their organization and really focusing on how do you get the best data to develop global transfer pricing policies, to understand where people are, country by country reporting really changed the game in a lot of respects. And so I think really having that holistic understanding of what the value drivers are of a business, understanding where those significant people functions are, is really changing how companies react as well as plan in the global environment.
And do you think that that is going to make companies operate in a better way?
I think it remains to be determined, because certain countries are going to react differently than those maybe where you have significant people functions and then and have a higher return. And so I think there is some advantage to have some of that certainty and to try to show where you have your people and where you have the profits, but there are always going to be those jurisdictions that don't necessarily react well to that, and that is always going to be the challenge for companies.
Yeah, Doug, I might say, you know, I think, you know, having data and technology is very, very helpful. I think the challenge is the pace of change, the scope of change, the level of enforcement, you know, aggressive enforcement by authorities is making, I think, the time horizon for planning and for adjusting, you know, considerably shorter than they used to be in the past.
Right. And final question, are you noticing any themes among clients in questions that they're asking or issues that they're having? Any trends?
I think the biggest challenge that we're seeing in trend is really is forecasting and modeling, and that is a challenge for everybody. Because of the uncertainty with the U.S. tax rules, the number of regs and notices that we're still waiting for, how to apply a lot of these provisions, and then also trying to look in your crystal ball and understanding, well, what's going to happen, as I mentioned, with ATAD, with the Anti-Tax Avoidance Directive in Europe, and really trying to model all of the interdependencies is incredibly complicated, but that is absolutely something that companies need to do and understand, both from understanding from a provision perspective and forecasting rates, and then from just being able to have a planning environment that is sustainable.
Okay.
I might simply say the only thing certain is uncertainty, and so what do? You stay nimble, you monitor things, and then, you know, be prepared to move quickly when you need to.
Agreed, for all aspects of life.
Yeah, that's right.
Gentlemen, thank you so much for joining me.
Thank you.
And thank you for joining us. We'll see you next time.